So rasa kita boleh mula sekarang. Okey, saya cakap sikit. Alright, okey, selamat datang semua ke UiTM PJIMA webinar hari ini. Alright, so kita ada talk hari ini. Tajuk berkenaan talk hari ini adalah Writing, Publishing and Marketing Books for Busy Soul. So speaker kita hari ini adalah Dr.Latisha Asmaak, iaitu beliau adalah koordinator Pasukan Siswaza UiTM Perlis dan juga Masyarakat daripada Fakulti APB. So tanpa melengah masa, saya serahkan webinar ni kepada Doktor. Alright, Doktor.
Alright, okay. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. Right, so saya akan mula presentation lah. Okay, let's see. I'm going to present now. Okay, my screen. Okay, okay, before that. Okay, share. Okay, nampak tak dia punya slideshow tu?
Nampak.
Thank you very much. Right. So this is the topic today. So what? It's just a very simple presentation that will be writing, publishing, marketing book.
But not in terms of slideshow,
tak in terms of kangen nak buat slideshow.
It's okay. Saya boleh nampak. Macam ni boleh nampak.
Okay. So and then first, before I start, I would like to ask you to ponder about two things, right? Epictetus once said, if you wish to be a writer, just write. And another quotation would be, the scariest moment is always just before you start. As we go through, what I would like you to do would be, remember these two quotations, right? And I'm sure that since you are busy, I'm sure that you want to know what am I going to talk about. So let's look at the table of content. The first one would be, we will be going to the overview. We're going to look at the challenges, how to start, what to write. During this time, what I'm going to ask will be, we're going to look at the writing process, publishing process, and marketing process. And then we're going to look at the WPM technique, that is writing, publishing, and marketing. So we'll be looking at pre-writing, during writing, and post-writing. And then we're going to look at WPM strategies, and then definitely the fourth part will be during and post COVID-19. What will be the trends and opportunities? And then I'm going to share with you the books and experiences. Okay, I think that I have written 15 books, 2 more coming, so that means 17 books. So these are the things that I got. I mean, this is what I learned. So I would like to share what I learned. Right, the first one, remember, this is what we tell ourselves. I want to write, but I'm busy. I do not know what to write. I'm not talented. I'm not confident. And once again, I'm busy. Am I right? We are busy, right? Okay. Yes. And then you're going to ask me how I am going to write. Because remember this one, when you want to write, it's all about you. You are going to write what you're going to write, okay? You can write about your experiences, your tacit knowledge. You have been working about 5 years, 20 years, 22 years. You have a lot of things, even though you have, let's say, thought about 1 year or less than 1 year, you still have a lot of tacit knowledge, right? You can talk about the lecture notes, study notes, travel notes. If some of you like to doodle, there will be some stories that you can use from doodle, the pictures that you took and the drawing that you did. Like Azira likes to draw, so the drawing can be turned into books. And definitely your interest, what do you like to do? Some of you like cooking. Some of you would like to play games. Right, might be some of you like to travel. So you can write on your interest. And sometimes you know that you have problems. For example, let's say, for example, we have ODL, right? Online and distant learning. So the problem, you can write about your experience, the nature of that, and so on. And sometimes we find people telling us about their problems. Then if we can have the solution, then their problem would become the source of inspiration for us. So what you can do would be, now ask people, do you have problems? Can you tell me, do you have problems? I like to share. I like to solve your problems. All right. So what to write? So I give you 15 things that you can write. From each thing, so from 15 items, that will be the subtopic. You have modules. You can write about lecture notes. You can write about the study notes, all the materials, research, recipes, experience, and so on. Even your poem, how you express your feelings during COVID-19, that could be compiled in your book. It can be poetry book. And for example, our failures, remember? Our glorious failures can be turned into solid success, but you need to write. Okay. And then, as good presenter and a good lecturer, I'm giving you assignment. Aren't you excited? I'm giving assignment, right? This is your assignment, right? Okay. What I need you to do would be, I need you to take a piece of paper, or might be, what you can do would be jot down somewhere, or might be use your handphone. I'm sure that you must have one book that you really want to write. There's a book in your head, you're dying to write about that book, but you have not written that book. Okay, what's the title of your book? Remember, title is tentative. So what you can do would be just put one title, searching for something. Then later on we can revise on that. Are you going to write fiction or non-fiction? What about the genre? If you're writing fiction, are you going to talk about, are you going to write about horror story book? Or if you're going to talk about non-fiction, are you going to write about non-academic book? Language, are you going to write in Bahasa Malaysia, English, Thai, Arab, and so on? Your target reader, remember something, when you write something, when you write a book, you must visualize, you must know who's going to read the book, right? And then you have to imagine who's the reader, how old is the person, how old are they, what do they like, what are their likes and dislikes, what are their ambitions. So you need to know about that one. And then you need to know the pages. How many pages you plan? Remember, if you're writing for UiTM Press, 50 pages is the minimum. What are the pages? You must know what would be your target pages. And you must know table of content would be, what would be the content of your book? Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, how many chapters going to be? And then how many each chapter, what is it about? And then we're going to go to the next one. So writer, are you going to be the only writer, or are you going to write with your friends, collaborative writers, right? Are you going to find a publisher? A publisher is going to publish your book, or are you going to self-publish your book? And the year of publication, the target of publishing, when would you want your book to come up? Is it next year, 2021 or 2022? And how many copies to be printed? How many copies do you want people do you want to invest? Let's say 100, or it could be 20, it could be 30, or it could be 500. So this is your assignment, all right? Are you clear? Very good. So this is the assignment. Remember, we are talking about your book, the book that you want to write, the book that you have been waiting all your year, all your life to write about. So this is the book, right? So now I'm going to go to this one, what we call would be writing, publishing, marketing technique would be, first we would have the pre-writing activities. And then during the pre-writing activities, writing and publishing would take part, because you need to write, and then you need to, let's say, for example, if you want a publisher to publish your book, you have to persuade a publisher, you have to sell your idea to the publisher. Or if you want to self-publish, then you have to find the self-publishing companies or printing companies, right? And then step 2 would be during writing activities. So during this one, you still be writing, you still be doing the publishing, because you got to persuade the publisher, you still got to find the self-publish companies, and you definitely got to market. That's why I say that you need to market here, because if you don't have anything, don't sell your good ideas, because somebody might listen to that idea and somebody might decide, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to write it. And if that person write it first before you, definitely you are the one who's going to copy the person, even though it's originally is your idea. All right. And step 3, then you're going to look at post-writing activities. Here would be, you're going mostly, because this one you already sent to the publisher, mostly you're going to warm up to your friends and so on, and definitely you're going to start publishing, and you're going to start writing a new book. So I'm going to go into in-depth after this. And definitely the last one will be, this is when you sip a cup of coffee, when you look at your book being displayed in some bookstores or might be online catalog. All right. So I'm going to go to the next one, right? Okay. So if you look at this one, so this is the pre-writing, this is the during writing, and this is post-writing. Right. So I'm going to go to the pre-writing first. Okay. Right. So here, the first one would be when you're doing pre-writing activities, opportunities, find opportunities, or might be, for example, if you listen to somebody, let's say, if your friend says that, oh, I'm going to write a book. So there, an opportunity comes and knocking on your door. Just say, yes, I'm in, right? Or might be if you, let's say, for example, you will look at the, let's say, call for books, chapters of the book, perhaps then you could volunteer. Right, definitely you have to identify the writing opportunities unless if you are established. Once you are established, right, people will be asking, do you want to write with me? So if we're not established, what we need to do would be, jangan malu, don't be shy. Just say that, oh, I just want to write. I just want an opportunity to write with you. And then I'm sure that somebody would give you an opportunity. Right, remember your topic or title. At least you must have a tentative topic. Why do I say so? Because let's say if you want your friends to write with you, and then if you want to persuade your friends, it's easier. If you have, let's say, for example, I'm writing about the myth of pirates, right? Do you want in? Right. If compare with, I'm writing a book. What kind of book is that, Latisha? I don't know. Let's think. So the first one is more persuasive. So find a topic, a tentative topic, all right? So decide, is it fiction or non-fiction? So if you're writing for textbook, that's non-fiction. The genre would be textbook, academic text, right? And then the target reader, as I said before, you must imagine when you're writing something, you're writing a book, who are your readers, right? So you have to actually understand who's going to buy your book. Because if you don't have this one, later on, when you want to market the book, it's very hard because you're not sure. If I'm writing a book, if I say, who's your reader? General reader. I can't do that. So I might be writing a book. So who's the reader would be university students who are not very good with writing skills. So that would be my target reader. How old are they? They might be 18 to 23. So because why? Because the way that you write, the content of the book must cater to their interests, right? And definitely competitors. You must know who are your competitors. My advice would be, if you want to write a book in one particular area or genre, go to the bookstore or browse through online catalog, because why? You need to know the competitors. Okay, just like doing research. What's the gap? What has not been touched? What is that? What do you need to do that? Because why? Later on, when you approach a publisher, they will ask you, what are the existing books? You must have this existing book, and your book, all right, must offer something else, something additional, right? Okay. And you have to decide whether is it ebook or is it physical book, right? Or would, let's say, the physical book would be later on have ebook content, right? And then we're going to go to the next one, would be publisher. If you want to write something, you want a publisher to publish, you need to understand, you study the publisher, who are there. If, let's say, for example, if publish UiTM Press, they will need table of content and sample chapter, I think completed work and cover letter, and then I think that you need to fill into more form, right? The form can be downloaded, I think, in UiTM Press website, right? But later, some publisher, they just need table of content and sample chapter. For example, might be chapter 1 or 2 or 3, not the whole book, right? And how many numbers of copies to be printed? Because you must know that when you are writing books, when you're selling books, you must know how many copies you want to be printed. 200, 300, okay? And then let's say, you must realize one thing, when you're doing with publisher, most of the publisher, unless, okay, stated otherwise, they would hold the copyright. So some of the writer, mostly they would prefer self-publish. Because why? Because of the copyright. The copyright belongs to the writer. Okay. Then if you're doing self-publish, you must remember it must be completed. It must be print on demand. And is it going to be print on demand, or is it going to be pre-order? Or let's say, for example, which company that you're doing that. So, and then I think I've already talked about the during writing. Okay. And then the next one would be individual team agreement. This one, let's say if you're writing with more than one person, you need to have the team agreement. You need to make sure that your team members, they are holding their fort. I mean, they honor their promise. That means that they are writing. And let's say, for example, if they fail to write, the part that they write, they would be willing to give it to you. Right. Just make sure that you have the agreement. If possible, make sure it is in written form. Right. Why I'm doing this, why I'm telling you this one, this is a reminder. Because why? Because when it's a manuscript, nobody cares. But when your book is making money, everybody will care. And you don't want to be dragged into the court of justice. You don't want to have your writers, your previous writers, to ask money for the part that they agreed to give to give before. Right. And remember the writing schedule. You have to have the writing schedule. Let's say, for example, if you're writing book with your friends, if it's June, then it's June 31st, June 31st, or June 30th, then it's June. But as a leader, you must make sure, especially when you're telling your writing mates that, oh, you got to submit in June, the last day of June, right? Then what you need to do will be actually, right, you expect them to write in August. That can be do so, but you need to remember the writing schedule is very important. And later on, when you work with a publisher, they will really push you for the deadlines. Remember, let's say, for example, they give you 2 months, and the first month you don't concentrate on writing. The second month you'll be having a terrible, horrible life. All right. This is coming from experience. And I think that you need to have the writing schedule, the time for writing. So you are busy, so at least an hour or 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes before you sleep, just make sure that you write. It can be on paper, it can be on your handphone, it can be anywhere as long as you're writing. And make sure that you have the writing space. Writing space meaning that, let's say, when you see that space, you know that you got to write. So it can be anywhere. It can be in Starbucks later on. It can be in your kitchen, as long as that is your designated writing space. Right. Okay. So if you're doing publisher, this is, for example, if you're doing UiTM Press, you have to have the cover letter, table of content, sample chapter in with UiTM Press, all the chapters and necessary documents. Right. And then this is the components of UiTM Press. If you look at that one, so you must have kulit, senarai kandungan, prakata, senarai jadual rajah, senarai singkatan, penghargaan, bibliografi, index, maklumat, cover letter, and 50 pages. And all these things, you need to do it on your own. Right, best friend? Right. And then I'm going to go to self-publish. If you decide to go to self-publish your book, remember one thing, you need to do 2 things. The first one, the copyright, right? Ask for copyright. Copyright, you can go for my IPO. I'm not sure. It might cost about 65 ringgit, right? And then second one would be you have to ask permohonan ISBN. If you're using the physical book, ISBN for ebook, right? And then you have to fill in this one and all the criteria. I think that they take about 3 to 5 days. Right? Why do you need to do this one? Right? Later on, I'll be talking about copyright. Okay? And definitely, if you are writing stuff with the publisher or self-publish, you still need to have the table of content. So you have to have, in the beginning, you have to have a solid table of content. Why? Because it will enable you to write easier. Right? Table of content could be unit, chapter, learning outcome, subtopic, activities. And as you go through, right, during writing, you can revise and edit your table of content. Right. Okay, are we clear?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
good. Okay, thank you. Right, and then we are going to go to the second one. So this is interesting during writing, right? So my advice would be, I'm not sure, some do not, in the beginning, do not be a perfectionist. Why? A perfectionist will make sure the first round, he or she would write a perfect piece of writing. Let me tell you one thing, a perfect piece of writing is not possible. A perfect piece of writing, the first trial is not possible for me. So the disclaimer is for me, because I would rewrite and write and rewrite. So be prepared to write, rewrite, and write, rewrite. So the first thing, look at the table of content, just write first. Write as you go, the free writing, just go according to the table of content. That will be your outline, right? And the second stage, you would refine whatever you're writing. And the third time, you would refine, right? Until there's nothing else to add, right? And when you write, remember, adhere to deadline, right? So then you must remember one thing, when you're writing, there will always be writer's block. What is writer's block? I'm not sure if you experience this one. I would have writer's block when I'm lazy, and then I will be using this excuse, I'm having a writer's block. Padahal malas nak tulis, right? So later on, I will suggest some of the strategies that you can do for your writer's block, right? And you must know you need to edit. If you self-publish your book, spend some money. Ask somebody else to edit and proofread. Trust me, right? If you publish a book with a publisher, they will edit and proofread. Jangan terasa. You cannot be, let's say for example, sometimes when I receive a comment from my editor, I just want to cry, right? Sebabnya because I'm a human. So what I do would be, look at the comment and say, oh yeah, okay, just put it on the table for a while and then come back. So you must remember one thing, editor's job is to make sure that your work is perfect. So they might ask you questions. So tabahkan hati, kuatkan semangat, right? So you can do this one. So just remember this one, they are not attacking you personally. They're just doing your professional job, right? And next one would be check originality of word. This is very important because if you're working with many writers, you must make sure the picture is your picture, the passage is your passage, or you ask permission, right? And if you are the leader of the group of the book, the first writer, it's on you. You have to check, because why? Because you don't want later on somebody come and sue you because you steal people's work. So check originality of work. If it's questionable, ask your writers. If it's questionable, ask again. Get the truth, right? And then if you think that that's not right, then you have to rewrite. Okay. And definitely you need to write. Remember, you need to write the foreword, the blurb about the authors, etc. Blurbs would be at the back page. So editors wouldn't write this one for you. This is, you have to write on your own, right? So blurb, you have to make sure that people want to buy your book, because if they have time, they just look at the back and say, oh, this is interesting, I'm going to write this book, I'm going to buy this book, right? So design, choose layout or cover design. This one, if let's say if you're working with publisher will ask you to choose several choices. If you're doing self-publish, you can choose your own. If you have money, you can pay extra service. So don't worry, self-published companies, they would offer additional services, right? And then once you get publishing agreement from the publisher or from the self-published companies, you need to read all the fine print. Understand what you are giving up, right? Understand what you are giving up and understand what you are getting, right? Because if you are writing and you have a publisher, they want to make money and you want to make money too. So you have to have a win-win situation. But check the publishing agreement. If you don't agree, you can go back and ask the publisher to rectify something, right? If you have friends who are lawyers, you can ask the person, is this a good, solid, is this fair for you? And you know that, let's say, okay, then because the agreement sometimes, for example, if I'm writing with Oxford, we give the copyright to Oxford, right? So you must remember that one, right? Exercise copyright protection, especially if you're doing if you decide to self-publish. Copyright protection is very interesting. Okay, you know that whenever you're writing, right, you got to email someone. For example, last time, I think last 2 days, I emailed Tajuk, let's say the slide. Okay, once you email somebody, right, that means that, okay, this is my work. If somebody copy, I could go to a court and say that, oh, the person is stealing my work. But still, you want it to be tied. So what you need to do would be, if you're doing self-publish, so remember, get copyright protection. And ISBN will be just identifier. So meaning that you know you have written a book, right? So that's a particular unique numbers that is given to your book only. And if your book has a second edition, that second edition will be given another ISBN, right? And definitely during your writing, as I said before, you have to tell people you are writing books. I'm writing this book. The point would be, we are very humble. We don't want to tell people. I'm not telling people. I'm not telling people about the book. Why not? I'm so shy. But that is your book. Remember, you can't. That book, even though the publisher will promote your book, but it's your book. Nobody else know well about the book except you. So you got to promote your book. So during writing, yes, you already have everything. You can tell them, I'm writing a book later on. Even some writers, what they do would be, they would open pre-order and people would order. And then when you open your pre-order, you know how many books you can print. So that's a very good marketing strategy and it's very cost saving, right? Okay, this one. How to overcome writer's block? Okay. What I'm asking would be, for example, I find this one is effective. When be multi-genre writers, meaning if, let's say, for example, the first book, what I always do would be, when I'm writing one book, I'm not actually writing one book. I'm actually writing 4 to 5 books. And sometimes I write articles too, right? Why? Because why? Let's say, if I start with writing, publishing books for busy souls, then I can go to emerging communities. When I start with emerging communities, I can go to the poetry. I can write poetry, the poetic pirates. And then if I'm stuck here, and I'm going to go to my novel, The Dream Catchers. Why? Because this is, like, say, writing and publishing books for busy soul. This is like, let's say, non-fiction. Emerging communities, non-fiction, academic text. The poetic of pirates, this is fiction. Dreamcatcher, fiction. From my experience, right, flipping from fiction to non-fiction, from genre to genre, is eliminate writer's block, because your brain is working. That's my rationale, right? Okay. So then we are going to go to post-writing. So post-writing would be when your book is finished, it's been published. So you need to do would be launch the book, right? Make sure that people know that you're writing a book, your book is being published, like a celebration. Promote, publicize your book using your social media. You have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Remember, you need to market to your tribe. Remember, tribe would be your followers or people who support you. And remember your intended audience just now, the target readers. And definitely face-to-face would be the workshop, the forum, meet and greet session. You got to promote and sell your book. What I find would be, sometimes we, the writers, we expect the publisher to do everything. So that's not fair. Because why? Because nobody knows your book as well as you. You have been living the book, right? You know a lot. You are the best seller. You are the best salesperson. And sometimes then what you need to do is start a new one. Because why? Because if you stop there, writing is continuous. You need to write book after book, one by one, or might be simultaneously, right? Okay, and then I'm going to go to here. So let's say, as I said before, the writing, publishing, marketing strategies would be how to write book when you are actually very busy. First, be a collaborative writer, right? You got, if you work with people, let's say people in your department, people in your universities, people that you meet, people that have the same minded, same mission, right? Then you could write many books. And then, for example, if you're writing textbook, I'm sure that you have to have members, because if just writing on your own, remember one thing, you need people to sell the book, and people won't sell the book if it's not your book. So you must have people with the same mission, right? And it's fun to write with writers, okay? And then definitely you are subject matter expert. You are the content expert. So build your expertise on your area, all right? So from your area, you can have 6 books, 7 books. So you're busy while you're preparing for the class, and then those materials, save it, refine it, you can have it for your book, all right? And as I said before, the multi-genre writers, so meaning that don't be stuck in the academic text. I'm sure that some of the our lecturers, they're very good with motivational. So go for motivational, and some would be very good with stories. Go for stories at the same time. So because why? Because when you have multi-genre writers, you can expand your area of expertise. Okay, and another one would be write in chunks. Right, I know that we are busy. It's impossible to think about one book, 200 words, 200 pages, but it's manageable if, let's say, for example, today I'm writing 2 paragraphs. All right, might be you need 1-2 paragraphs, and then is it doable? It's doable. Write in chunks, write in smaller, all right, smaller section, right? And definitely, being a writerpreneur, you have to treat your writing as your business, right? I think that most educators, we are humble, which is very good. We don't want to talk about what we know, our book. Kalau boleh senyap je. Or what are you doing? I'm publishing a book. What is the book? Adalah. No, you got to tell people, this book is very good. Why? Because this is based on my experience. This can help people. You have to tell that one, right? Okay, then during and post COVID-19, you can see there will be trend and opportunities, right? Increased trust on online transactions. A lot of people I do sell books on Carousel because I have so many books. Okay, I put on my rack, I put it in boxes, and I have an online shop, Carousel, and I sell books, right? And let's say, for example, people are buying, that means that people are trusting online transaction, right? And use your social media influence, because I think that information get disseminated, right? You can even launch your book from your home, and a lot of opportunities, especially when doing ODL and online learning, right? In the past, I wouldn't be presenting using webinar. I do not like being in video because it makes my face look plump or chubby, right? So that's how I feel. But now, this is the way that I talk to people, right? And this is the new normal. And the book, a lot of let's say demand for book, physical books and e-books. And you must know something, the webinar, your book can actually be online module from a webinar like we are doing now. And this one can be converted into book, it can be e-book or it can be physical book. And definitely there's a trend for transmedia storytelling, meaning that we are doing, for example, a physical book, and then we are doing YouTube, and then we are doing audio book, right? So there will be a lot of opportunities. So I think that what you need to do will be start writing, start sharing your experience, right? So these are the books that are some of the books that I have written. Okay, so the first one is the first book. This is Essential of Professional English. So I wrote the book with Mahani Mansur, Nazira Osman, Rizo Azida, and Serena Nayan and Puan Zarul Laili. So if you look at this book, most of my books, the writers are from APB, Academy of Language Studies, UiTM Press, right? And then, right, this is Poetry Book, Two Strangers and Other Poems. So we self-published, so this is on Lulu. And Universal Life, this is on Lulu. Puan Anis is the leader, right? And then I would like to share with you, right? So this is English for Oral Presentation. This is the only book that's in Oxford University Press catalog. So I think this is an achievement, and one of the my other writer would be Cik Nur Alifah Rosaidi. I think she's here. So she's a good writer, right? So if you want to write with her, you can go and write with her, right? And then definitely then I would like to go, for example, Pusat Citra, University UKM, they are using, let's say, this is the references. So LMCE 1062 Academic Interaction. So English for Academic Writing, and then English for Oral Presentation. These are the references for this one. So at least what I'm happy would be what we write. The books are able to help other people too. And definitely another one with the college vocational would be for English for Communication and English for Business. This one would be English for Oral Presentation, right? So remember why I asked you two things, isn't it? The first one would be, remember the quotation. Later on, I will ask you after this. Okay. I think that writing a book is like running a marathon. So you must remember one thing, the marathon will be certain duration, 3 hours, 4 hours. There will always be people in front of us, but there will always be people at the back. So as long as we complete the marathon, we each of us get a medal. So meaning that if we complete the writing process, then we would publish even though we are slower or we are quicker, right? So this one, remember the assignment, all right? So have you managed to get your dream book, right? So let's get back to the quotation. Remember the quotation, the first one would be, what's the quotation, right? If you want to write, just write. Okay, second quotation would be, the most difficult things would be, okay, the scariest moment is always just before you start. Yes, before you start, it's always scary. After that, that will be okay. Right. So with that, thank you very much for the session. All right. If you have any question, you can ask me question.
All right. Thank you very much for a very good presentation, Dr. Latisha. Right. So sekarang saya nak bukalah soalan kepada peserta yang ingin bertanya soalan. Alright, silakan. Okey, ada soalan untuk Dr. Latisha?
Yes, soalan kalau malu type je. Kalau malu lah, kalau tak malu tak apa. Kamu boleh, I mean, you can talk to me. I'm friendly, hopefully. Hafiz, I can see you. Yes, question. Oh, you don't have question, it'll be okay. Next book I'm in. All right, so that is identifying opportunities. One Serena is identifying opportunities. All right.
Ada soalan kita?
Well done. Include me. Oh, Dr. Roslawati. All right, I will. All right. Identifying opportunities. Bagus. Then there will be, let's say, 112 right here. 112 here, you can write. So remember the assignment that I gave you. That's your dream book. Pages. Okay, outline pages tak kisah. Ibu tak kisah. Right. A good learning platform to start writing. let's see, sekejap Okay. Kogi said that good learning platform to start writing. Kogi, my advice would be just write. Sebabnya apa? Because I think that sometimes we postpone. Macam saya, I always want to write a novel. Trust me. Still, I think I stopped at 112 pages, page 112, right? Just write, Kogi. But first, before you write, you must have the outline or table of content. What do you want to write? You're most welcome, Jennifer. Just write, and then there will be 111, so peserta, excluding me 110, you can start writing. Tulis je. Hafiz, you can write on a lot of things. Mobile learning, mobile learning, how to do how to identify benda vegetable semua tu kan. tapi Hafiz make sure untuk orang yang macam untuk novice macam we all. So how to do that?
Okay.
Right. Lagi. So try je. The point is, okay, it's like this. Writing ni, kalau kita postpone, kan? I mean, for example, writing ni, kalau takut, start writing with friends. Tulis dengan kawan. Right. Tulis ramai-ramai. Tulis dengan kawan, so meaning dia, kalau kena rejected tu pasti. Dalam hidup memang kita kena rejected. Okay. Buku yang sudah ditulis, share buku yang ditulis. Okay. Let's see. So kalau buku yang ditulis kejap saya pergi tengok. Essential professional English, and then what else? Serena, help me with this one. Foundation English, I wrote that one with Azalia, Azira, Serena. So Azalia is the leader. So Foundation English is the second edition, is going through the second edition. And then let's say English for Academic Writing is going through the second edition, which I wrote with Dr. Fadili, Puan Mahani, and Puan Nazira. Okay, and we have English for You. English for You would be, I think that there will be 10 lectures, mostly from UiTM Alpha UTD UiTM Perlis. Okay. Membahagi masa, specific time. Okay, Dr. Syukur, siapa adukah writing ni sebagai stress, stress absorber. Bila saya marah je tengok orang, saya tulis. Okay. And then bila saya kecewa dengan something, I write. Okay. And selalu ni saya akan tulis lah. Dalam seminggu tu selalu I try to do something. Setiap hari saya tulis. Saya tulis lah. Saya buka table of content, saya tulis dulu. The second time, saya tulis lagi. I think one day, 1 hour. But sometimes, satu hari saya tak tulis. But the next day, saya akan tulis for 2 hours. Saya tak tulis buku untuk question and answer. Boleh? Yes. Question and answer. You must remember one thing. Like this masalah, problem, you have a solution and you tahu ada orang yang boleh, yang nak beli, dia tak ikut solve people's problem. Yes. Okay, saya tengok lagi right.
Doktor, ada satu lagi soalan dekat atas tu. Doktor cuba scroll kat atas tu yang daripada Dr. Imelda. Hi Dr. Latisha, whenever cuba scroll.
Okay, they jump from idea chapter for chapter. Okay. Okay, yes. Dr. Imelda, this is a very good question. Selalunya what I do will be, saya suka menipu diri sendiri, menipu otak saya. So selalu je saya buat ialah saya akan buat dulu tau. Unit 1, section by section, because I really hate those format kan. Saya buat dulu, chapter 1, okay, introduction, the subunit, everything. And then I will always start dengan something yang I suka dulu, chapter yang I suka dulu. Bila I suka, I tulis, and then I tinggal. Okay, and then I tulis lagi. Selalunya Dr. Imelda, I don't write one book at a time. I do 2 or 3 books, sometimes 3 books and 3 articles. So sometimes I would jump from one book to another one. So, okay, so that's why I think I'm not blocked. And satu lagi Dr. Imelda, perfection and criticism tu, selalunya yang criticize kita ialah our staff. We ourselves, we are the worst critic. Kita akan tulis tak sedap lah soal tak sedap. When we write a sentence, we will say that, tak bestnya, tak bagusnya. I mean, this is not good. This is not our level, right? And usually, when let's say, for example, you just write. Don't put the fear of perfection and criticism in nanti. We have remember bila kita tulis, when we write, right, during writing, we have several stages. The first one. The second part we refine. The third part we refine. So put perfection, the third or the fourth stage of your writing. Sebab I know that people are stuck there. And dulu when I do my thesis lah, once about PhD, masa tu lah masa paling what they call this one, paling productive, because I'm writing thesis and book. Thesis and book. So it's like stress releaser. Do I answer your question, Dr. Imelda? I hope I do answer. So don't worry about perfection and criticism. Jangan risau dengan bila the editor give you when the editor criticize your work or your co-writers criticize your work. It's not you personally. They are criticizing the work, so the work can be better. Bila kita detach, bila kita jadi detached writer, when we are writing, I'm not Latisha, I'm just a writer there. Then we don't feel it's personal. Yes, no, Azira. Azira is a very good writer and she's an artist. So kalau if you want illustrator, she's the one. All right, which is better, we become public. Okay, I'm going to go to Jennifer, right? Which is better, we become publisher for our book or we find publisher to publish our book? Jennifer, okay, the question would be very, what do you call that one? Subjective question, okay. Kalau, for example, if you have the publisher, okay, Jennifer, have you written before? Dah tulis, dah pernah menulis? Jennifer. Okay, so Jennifer, okay. The question would be, let's say, for example, if you have, let's say, if you a new writer, you perlukan a publication untuk naik pangkat or promotion or whatsoever. And when you're writing with, let's say, if you're writing with university publisher like UiTM Press, okay, then it would be a good contribution to your promotion, to your professional growth, right? Self-publish, okay, self-publish when you have something that is static, that is your copyright. You don't want to give to other publisher. So might be, for example, let's say if Hafiz is doing some sort of new method or whatever, and he does not want the publisher to retain the copyright, then yes, you can have a self-publish. And sometimes that's a trend. Nowadays, people want to leave books as legacy for their children, so for their family, so they would publish for about 10 or 20 books, right? And then they will have self-published. So once again, it depends on your objective. So if you publish, I think that UiTM Press, they would have, sometimes they would retain the copyright. I think in circumstances, the copyright is given to you, because I think that I've seen Dr. Shuko's book, right? Inovasi, I saw that the copyright belong to
Yes. Belong to
right.
PGI.
Yes, belong to PGI. Yeah, some publisher do offer that one. So you have to ask the publisher, right? I mean, what about the right? Does it belong to you, or do they take the right? So that's why bila the publishing agreement, you have to read the publisher agreement. Look at the fine print. Are you willing to give up your right? Selalunya like this. Sometimes you have to discuss. You have to think. Okay, which one? It's a win-win situation. What do you get? What do you lose? If you lose your copyright, you have something else, right? And don't put all your good ideas in one book. Lupa lah nak cakap. Right. So meaning, kalau boleh buat satu grand idea tu boleh generate a lot of book. Don't put everything in one single book. And once the book is done, right, you have to find ways how to make the content, richer, lively. It's alive. Sebab kalau dull content, dia tak akan boleh, it cannot exceed the first print. It will die. Okay, hi Tim. How do we go such as YouTube? Okay, Facebook. Okay, when you're doing ODL material such as from YouTube, Facebook and other resources, you have to write your own. Right, if you're using any of the apps, I think that they're kind of define print dekat situ, not for commercial purposes, so you can't do that. Right, because you must remember one thing, when it's just a manuscript, nobody cares. But once you're making money, people care. So my advice would be, if you are doing your materials, make sure that it's yours. Okay, do I answer all the questions? All right. So then what I'm hoping will be the 110 persons here. What you need to do will be start writing. Tak ada perfect moment. This is not a glorious life yang duduk tepi pantai. You can write books. No. Writers write kat mana-mana pun. Right. Even let's say for example, you're waiting for something in the class, you have to write, jot down. The grand ideas always come at unexpected moment. Seize it and start. One thing I think that start exposing yourself, start sharing. Right. Start sharing. So I'm sharing today. So I hope that 107 people here start writing. So macam Dr. Norma, she has a lot of experience. I remember Dr. Norma ni the first one. I think masa tu we doing English for you. You invited us for, actually no, Boat to Court, if I'm not mistaken, Boat to Court. We wrote about travel tales of the thinking travelers. So she was the UPENA coordinator. She was the one who said that, yes, you have to start, you have to keep writing. Thank you very much, Dr. Norma.
Welcome.
Nampak kali ni saya memang pasti dapat ketam satu bekas hari ni.
Boleh ganta.
Okay, anything else? So remember one thing, just write. So tak payah risau, just write. And remember the beginning is always hard. Okay, and then you write. Okay, people criticize your writing, that's normal. Alright, the thing would be, for example, your satisfaction, you are able to share with people what you know. And some of our books, I remember most of our books would be used by lecturers and students because they find it very easy. Because our job is to make things easier for people to understand. So that's why the books are selling well, because it's easy for students to understand, and it's easy for the lecturers to teach the students, right? So I'm sure that you know your areas, right? Just write. Just write with UiTM Press. Sebab this sponsored, my talk is sponsored by UiTM Press, right? Right, Dr. Tajuk? Yes, contact Dr. Tajuk. He has been helpful.
Ya, betul. Ada soalan lagi?
Ada soalan lagi? Saya rasa semua orang dah penat kot dengan saya bercakap.
Okay. Alright, saya rasa very good presentation. Q&A dan sebagainya. Alright, sebelum tu saya nak, kalau boleh kita ada attendant untuk keluarkan e-certificate. Alright, so harap peserta boleh isi. And then bagi pihak PGIMA, so kita ingin merakamkan ucapan terima kasih kepada Dr.Latisha. So mungkin yang lain kalau yang berminat boleh contact dengan Dr.Latisha untuk dapatkan guideline, guidance untuk menulis, dan kita ada platform seperti UiTM Press untuk kita publish. Alright, saya rasa Dr. Syukur mungkin ada nak tambah sikit.
Okey, terima kasih Dr.Latisha untuk perkongsian yang amat menarik lah. So kita mengharapkan perkongsian sebegini dapat menaikkan motivasi para pencerah yang lain lah untuk mula menulis buku. Okay. Thank you again for your sharing, Dr.Latisha.
Saya pun boleh masuk dalam e-content tu kan? Dapat sindir kan?
Boleh. Nanti boleh nanti masukkan nama dalam link tu.
Okay, before that, Jennifer, yes, Jennifer, yes. Let's say, okay, let's see. Sekejap saya baca. Yes, boleh Jennifer, you boleh, poem pun boleh. Sebab dia creative work. Yes, boleh masuk dalam innovation. So that's creative work. Even boleh copyright. Boleh pergi my IPO, boleh copyright. Because that's your poetry.
Betul.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome. So I hope that everybody can write and then everybody can publish and then invite me.
Okay, thank you very much Dr. Latisha. Sebelum tu saya nak promote kita ada next PGIMA webinar itu pada hari Jumaat ni. So kita ada speaker daripada luar, daripada UKM. Itu dia ingin menerang talk kita berkenaan dengan my research journey in the UK. So harap semua dapat join lagi lah. Okay, untuk makluman juga video webinar ni kita ada record lah. So nanti slide dan video recorded ni kita akan share through email lah. Okay, terima kasih semua.
Terima kasih Dr. Kajol, terima kasih Dr. Syukur, terima kasih semua. Bye.
Terima kasih Dr. Latisha.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, see you again. InsyaAllah.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Susah sangat.